Hey guys, welcome back to Sad Dad. My name's Dave Abkary and I am a comedian out of Fresno, California, and this is a podcast where I sit down with my fellow funny friends, my fellow comedians, and we talk about dads. Hi, how are you? How's your week been? Man, it is getting hot. It's getting hot here in Fresno. Today's supposed to be our first triple-digit day, 100 degrees, which is kind of wild for our first triple-digit day to be in June. Normally we get one or two of them in May, but we actually we've been pretty spoiled with the weather lately. Thank you, global warming. This part's nice. I mean, I think Alabama's underwater right now, but I think, or Arkansas, one of those terrible southern states is not doing so hot right now. There's a lot of water. Anyway, but it's been nice here in California. Dealing with that, you get a lot of bugs. There's a lot of bugs when it heats up out there. I was just watching the standing on my front porch. I was telling you guys about that last week where, I quit smoking, but I haven't quit smoke breaks yet. So just standing on my porch, watching all the animals interact with each other in my front yard. There's so many lizards right now. They're just all out eating like the June bugs and stuff. It's kind of fun, watching them skirt around eating June bugs. All the lizards are like missing tails because the cat keeps eating the lizard tails. It's just every goddamn lizard I've seen. This fucking cat's just eating lizard tails all day long. Watched a crazy turf war between a blue jay and a squirrel the other day. I think a weird natural selection has happened in my front yard where the cat's already eaten all the dumb birds. So the only birds left are the smart birds, and they've just learned how to avoid the cat. So the blue jays have moved on to their new natural enemy, which is ground squirrels apparently. And so that's been my life. Yeah. I had to go to a funeral last Friday. It was pretty sad. A friend passed away very unexpectedly, and it was a beautiful service. They asked me me and a few of my buddies to be the ushers for this funeral, and man, we blew it. Holy shit, we had these 70-year-old ladies just blowing right past us. We're like, we can see each other. They're like, no, we're fine. We're just going to sit back here. We're like, no. And it's so weird, too. They were like, can you just try to front load the pews, get everybody up front. And it's so wild that people's natural aversion to sitting in the front row or even close to the front row. I run into that a lot, with comedy shows. Nobody wants to sit in the front row because they're afraid the comedian's going to pick on them or something. And it's but at a church? I mean, the fucking pastor's not going to be like, hey, where do you work? What do you do for a living? Nobody's going to crowd work you at a funeral. People are weird, man. And so anyway, my buddies and I did that. Didn't do great. It was, I don't know. It was just wild. But it was good to see all those guys. I haven't gotten to see them much since I kind of fell headfirst into doing comedy over the last couple of years, and it was neat. It was good hangs with those guys afterwards, and then we all came over. Everybody came over to my place after the service, and after we did there was a luncheon. I don't think they call them wakes. Somebody told me they're called a wake. They're called a wake because back in the olden days, you can never be too sure if somebody was dead, so you would give them an extra day to wake up. I don't know if that's true, but it's cool. Anyway, yeah, it sounds very Irish. Sounds like an Irish tradition. I bet that's an Irish tradition. Anyway, so yeah, that's been, and then just a lot of shows. We've been running a lot of shows. We have a show tonight. Very funny. Previous Sad Dad guest is coming out. Clay Newman is coming out to headline our show in Fresno's Tower District at Full Circle Olympic, and so that'll be fun. But this is our 13th night in a row of producing a show. We've got 9 more to go before Danny and I both get a night off. We've been kind of alternating back and forth, but man, it's a busy season. It's busy. People are ready to laugh, and we're just doing our best to keep up with the demand. So that's some good news, I guess. After bumming you guys out with funeral talk. So cool. Let's talk about my guest today. The guest today is a very funny, very talented comedian and actor, Quincy Johnson II. And Quincy is somebody I absolutely look up to as a comedian. He's definitely helped me out a lot too, and he's very encouraging. That's something that Quincy and I don't talk about on this episode. But Quincy is very good at helping young comedians, develop, and he'll take them out on the road with him. And it's funny. I was thinking about like the weird how things have like perpetuated. Like we met Quincy because somebody brought Quincy out, and then Quincy brought out Leia Kayajanian, who headlined our shows last weekend, and then Leia Kayajanian brought out Rick Wood, who Danny and I fell in love with, and then Rick Wood brought out Ben Branford, who we've got headlining in a couple of weeks, and it's just neat the way a lot of what we have going on right now can be traced back to Quincy Johnson just being fucking cool and like taking young comics out on the road with him, and that's something I really appreciate about comedy. Is there's sort of this like mentorship baked into the whole thing. I mean, we naturally want to bring up the next guy, and that's what happened with me. I mean, that's Danny was sort of my mentor, and he's the one that took me under his wing. And there's young comics that I'm trying to pay it forward to myself. I mean, I'm still a young comic, so it's just I really appreciated this talk though with Quincy. He dumps a lot of knowledge on me. He's so interesting. He's so fun. And this episode has it all. I mean, we talk about his dad. We talk about him being a dad. We talk about, comedy, of course. We talk about nunchucks. It's great. It's so fun. So without further ado, let's just jump in and do the damn thing. So here we go, guys. Quincy Johnson II. Unhinged rants in their group chats. I'm like, this guy's insane.
Oh yeah, man. You got to be insane to make money. You have to be. There's no such thing as a stable genius. That's why Donald Trump doesn't know what he's talking about.
Man, that is so true. I was talking to you always want to imagine there's like an antithesis to everybody. Like, is he like, you look at Donald Trump and he's basically the greatest bullshitter that's ever existed. Like,
he can sell anything.
Yeah, he's bullshitted his way literally to the highest office in the land.
I mean, the Russians kind of helped.
Well, sure. Yeah, I'll give you that.
He had a little assistance.
But like, you always imagine that there's going to be like a Robert Mueller. Like, there's going to be some steely-eyed dude that's the exact opposite. That can like every bit of bullshit that Trump is, Robert Mueller is the opposite of that, and he'll stop him. But then that didn't even happen either. Like this whole Mueller report thing.
The thing is, Robert Mueller is fighting by the book.
Right.
Trump is just seeing what sticks to the wall.
Yeah.
So you can't fight that type of fight. That's like saying, "Oh, I'm great at judo, but this dude has a bunch of guns."
Right.
I mean, yeah, you can fucking block and dodge all you want.
Yeah.
But if he's bringing guns to a judo fight, I don't care how technical you are, how by the book, you could be a grandmaster. I'm gonna go with the dude with the gun.
He's gonna win it. And that's the thing too, is like it's so much more energy to like refute bullshit than to produce bullshit. You'd spend so much time and effort just trying to like prove the bullshit wrong, and in the meantime he's produced 4 more pieces of bullshit. It's just and
while you're sitting there trying to fight the first flush, he's already he's piling on extra shit into the commode, and you're like, oh, we're gonna get stopped up with all this shit. Obviously,
he's shitting in the tank now.
Yeah, it's just he's gonna let the diarrhea fly. He doesn't care about the bathroom. He doesn't care about cleanliness. He just wants to get it out. So
it's so funny.
Good luck with that. As I'm going to come with 1-ply toilet paper and be like, this is the American ply. We'll wipe away the smut. It's like, nah, man, he is shitting on your toilet paper. He's literally, he's in the office of the presidency doing everything he can to be unconstitutional. And people are like, well, I mean, he's allowed to do that, I guess, because the president has the ultimate power. He's Thanos.
Yeah, totally.
He's fucking Thanos.
Well, and I almost see where Pelosi's coming from, because if you're like wanting to impeach the guy, it'd be such a circus and it would take so long. The 2020 election is coming up. You may as well just put all of your eggs in that basket, and hopefully, it's just such a fucking weird time.
That all depends on if he allows the intelligence agencies to do anything to stop interference in the election. Because he runs the country. So if he makes a directive to say, hey, we need to put all of our effort towards stopping Iran from interfering in our election. So then all of our resources, if it's going to be approved, if anything is going to get budgeted for the next year, for the 2020 year during the election, it can only be approved if it is focused towards Iran's interference.
Right.
What about Russia? What about this quote unquote China? Yeah. Iran is our major threat right now. Oh, maybe Venezuela. You know what I'm saying? And so He runs the country. He has them by the balls, and they're just like, well, we'll get there.
Well, and that's the thing too. I mean, like when I saw the Iran stuff like popping up, I'm like, oh, this is like a classic like Republican move. Is you drum up a war.
They drummed up a bunch of wars.
Yeah, you drum up a war, and then that keeps you in office because who wants the changing of the guard in the middle of a war?
But you see, they keep holding off because every time it gets close to like, oh, the Mueller report's about to drop, we are very angry. There's Venezuela, and then as soon as it was like he's exonerated, the coup didn't work. Well, I mean, we'll check back. We'll definitely check. I remember seeing videos of people starving and blockades on the road, and I was like, oh shit, they're gonna really ramp this up.
Yeah.
Mueller report wasn't that bad. Guaido isn't there. I mean, Maduro's still there.
It was the same thing too with the migrant caravan.
I'm still afraid of the hurricane of people headed to the border.
Just fucking flying.
Oh man,
just refugees, just flying.
Hundreds of thousands a day.
Just everywhere. Yeah.
And somehow it looked like, I think he thinks migration is the way Speedy Gonzalez used to do it in fucking cartoons, where like it would say Mexico City, but then you just see a red line, and in 4 minutes he's in Texas to fight Yosemite Sam, and it's like, no, that's not how travel
not how it works at all.
Works.
Yeah. Oh, what was the first time? Because I came into comedy. And you and Danny had this like long-standing, well-established like relationship with each other. But like, what was your first time coming to Fresno? I mean, how did you end up in this play?
I featured from a friend. Danny had a friend of mine who was headlining the show. Yeah, he invited me out to feature. I came up. I did my jokes. Me and Danny kind of hit it off. And then he had me come back to headline, and we just like whenever we hang out, when it's like hangout time, we have a fucking great time.
Yeah. He loves you.
Oh yeah, man, we have a great time. But like right now, it's just, this is the mid-year where like literally last night after I got off stage, I got an email saying, yo, you need to be back in the morning to record this. And there used to be a time I could come out here and kick it for like a week. Yeah. Because it would be like, oh, I'm gonna make a little money. I was a super broke open micer. Right. I had a regular job. So I would whenever I was doing Danny's show, I would just take the week off. Sure. And then I would just come up here and kick it, because it was like, even if I don't make any money doing comedy this week in Fresno, I still got a regular job to go back to, and I'm on the road doing comedy. I'm living my dream at that point, because to that point, I hadn't booked road gigs. Right. So it was like, oh yeah, I fucking love this.
Yeah. This is awesome. Yeah. And by the way, thank you for being so clutch. I really
appreciate you inviting me out, man. I always have a great time up here.
It's a little secret time. I booked you for last night's show because the comic I had coming up, instead of you, I was like kind of irritated with them. I've never unbooked a comic before.
Oh, it was an unbooking.
It was an unbooking.
Nice.
And I was like, I can't unbook a comic, and then I gotta have a crusher. I can't just
I can't unbook you for somebody who's on your
I can't potentially ruin my show and not have a solid replacement. Like, that's just reckless.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Thank you so much for being so clutch.
It's so great once you graduate just mentally in comedy, where you don't have to support someone just because they're a comic. I know I don't ever support bad people, but there are also regular people who are bad comics, and I don't have to support that. I wish you the best. Right. I'll never deny you time at an open mic, but I don't have to book you to do 15 minutes because you do comedy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's a lesson that Danny and I have kind of had to learn with some of the actors in the scene. It's not just that, but also like too. A lot of those people you feel obligated to support can also be like really toxic too, and just removing them from your life.
Oh man, breath of fresh air.
It really is. Like even if they weren't actively doing anything to like disrupt you or your life or just having them around, there was always something that would bubble up, and it was always kind of like on the periphery of your consciousness, and it was just there. It was just like an energy. It's hard to like do that though, because you feel like it is a disservice to the scene and you're not supporting, but
you are, because like, think of it as quality control. If at the point where you're a booker, you are no longer just a comedian. You are quality control on the assembly line. So now at that point, if you let a bad M&M through and you see it and you still let it pass, that's your fault. That's not the factory's fault, because they're going to produce some bad. Your job is to stop it. I'm going to cut you off before you can get in front of a real audience, make my show look bad, make yourself look bad. make me look bad for booking you. Like it's a whole bunch of shit.
Well, totally, and it's more too than like, you know, I mean, if they're a young comic and they're still getting good, that's one thing. But it's the comics that are just always on social media, always griping about something, and like there's just like this image that this person is like trying to maintain, and then suddenly that social media persona is now popping up on your comedy show's poster, and it's like, oh, I mean, there's no way to disassociate yourself from that person, you know. I'll take an open micer who's still trying to figure it out, but has a good attitude. I'm like, I'll put that guy up. You know,
but I mean, even then, I want that open micer to come and do their best 4 minutes.
Right.
I don't want to book an open micer and then they come to my show and open mic my show.
Sure.
Because that's not the time for that. I don't care if it's 2 people in the audience, that's 2 people in the audience. That's not 2 comics watching you bomb.
Right.
Give them a show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is kind of interesting to watch when because we'll have these. We have a bunch of great young comics in the scene right now, and they will just crush on the open mics. And it's they're deep into the show at that point. I mean, you saw how loose. I mean, the audience last night was great, but it got real loose towards the end.
Everybody was it was an open mic, of course.
Right, exactly. And then it is kind of interesting to watch them go through crushing on all the open mics too. Like when we put them up on a real show, and they're opening that real show, and they're like, oh, this is harder than I thought.
Oh man, it's nothing. There's nothing like seeing an overconfident open micer meet comedy reality. Because like I still my biggest bomb of my career still sits on my chest because my friends remind me of it every chance they get. But it's one of those things where I thought I already knew before I got on stage I was gonna destroy this audience. It was my first time in Portland. I was doing one of the hottest shows in Portland. Yeah. I go up on stage. These people have no idea who I am. I open with a porn joke.
Oh, okay.
Portland don't like porn jokes.
Oh no.
So it doesn't matter. I bombed so hard. The host ran to my friend who he had never met before, who came to Portland with me for a festival. He just came to support me at the show. Ran up to him and said, "Yo, are you funny? Because I need you to go clean up this mess." It was so bad.
That's rough, man.
But it's one of those things where that type of thing sits with you to the point where I will never let that happen to me again. So when an open micer gets on stage at a big show,
right?
I love to see that wash over their face where it's like, oh, I have to be funny.
Yeah.
I can't just do my back of the room. I'm making my friends laugh with these inside jokes,
right.
That's what you said outside. Remember that?
Yeah.
Nobody here cares about your friends outside.
100%, and it's the best thing you can do for that comedian too. I mean, they I mean, once they really get a taste of reality, you carry that with you and everything that you do.
It's it's like a doctor losing his first patient. You know what I'm saying? Either you're going to bounce back from that because it's medicine, and sometimes that happens. It's comedy. You're gonna bomb.
Yeah.
But if you can never get over that first patient, like that first huge bomb.
That's one of the things I didn't really fully appreciate as far as what Danny did for me, because Danny would take me, and we still go on the road together, but he would take me to the cool shows, and he would also take me to the real shit shows.
Oh man, the shit shows are great.
You know, and like I didn't really appreciate it until literally last weekend when I was doing a soup kitchen benefit in Tehachapi, California at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. For a bunch of like 60 and 70-year-old people. And you know, I don't know that was even a situation where you could be successful, but I got a couple of laughs and everybody had a good time. And I would not have known how to do it if not for all of the shit shows that Danny took me to. Also,
man.
You know?
Danny had me do a 5 p.m. Sunday clean show. It was in the back of the old Mother Mary's.
Oh yeah.
It was Sunday, packed out room. Full of fans. Like it would be a mom and a dad who just want to laugh, and a table full of kids because it's like, well, this is our pizza party. Here's the comedy show. Funny. There's no Chuck E. Cheese to go to. There's no video games, and we need to get you guys out of our house. So it was like that was my first time doing, and it was such a great learning experience because now whenever I do an afternoon show when the sun's out or a retirement home, I'm like, man, I've bombed in front of 10-year-olds.
Totally.
This room of old folks, I can easily get a giggle out of you. I'll just talk about your medication for 15 minutes. Let's just go in on these prescriptions around the room. Do some crowd work.
You were 100% correct about that Studio City show, by the way.
Oh man,
it actually. Here's what I'll say about that show. It was actually.
Let me, for those listening, the Studio City show. My man Dave here, he posted a flyer that he was doing this terrible show in Los Angeles.
Bring your show as a favor.
It's notorious. It's notorious for being terrible. But whenever my friends do it, I let them do it. Because just like a bomb, you need the experience.
Yeah, 100%. And here's what I'll say about that show. For one, there were entirely too many comedians. I think I went up like in 15th.
Oh my God.
But that crowd, that show had an audience it didn't deserve. Because that crowd was actually pretty good. The problem was there was a whole fucking bazaar. There was like a craft fair happening 15 feet away from the stage where it was all these women and their multi-level marketing, like fucking Herbalife thing, trying to like
we gotta get butts in the seats. How do we get butts in the seats? Let's do some comedy next to some marketing, next to some Salvation Army sales, whatever.
Yeah. And so like that really ruined the show. If that wasn't there, that show would have been way better. If you didn't have that and you had half as many comedians, it would have been a decent show.
So you just made it a show. But that show is not a show.
It's not a show.
It can't be a show. Because even if you tried to improve it, the show would die. Because the only strategy that works is to keep it terrible and add as much as possible. Because if you try to just make it a show, you won't get that big crowd.
I mean, you make a great point.
I remember when he was doing it, the first and only time I did the show, he booked me to headline. Then he said, I got a special guest coming in, so you're not going to headline, but you're going to open for him. And I was like, okay, that's cool. When I get to the venue, he tried to charge me to get in.
Oh, my God.
I looked him in the eyes. I was like, dog, you booked me. You text me. I didn't approach you. Like, you came, got my number, and sent me a text to do this booking.
What a fucking piece of shit.
The person he booked to headline, I'm not going to mention their name because no point in giving them the promo, but I'll just go and say this. They weren't a comic. They got divorced from a comic, and now they are a comic. That's their career journey. So never was in comedy. Got married to a comic.
Yeah.
Divorced that dude, and now she's a comic. It's a she, so it's fine.
Well, yeah.
She's a comic. So this was like her first headlining gig.
Oh my God.
And she had to follow me.
Yeah, right.
And I was just at that point I was so frustrated with the whole it was just a shit show. They had a rap show. It was a bar with two separate areas. They had a full rap show in the front bar, comedy in the back bar, but there was the sound system in the front wasn't made for a rap show, so they just brought in a bunch of extra speakers and made it real loud. It was fucking garbage.
Yeah.
But I still did what I do. I just made people laugh and I got off stage.
Right.
The headliner then proceeds to get mad because I was funny.
How dare you?
Because in that room, if the person before you's funny, you're expected to be funny. And she was like, I'm out here working out new stuff. You told me I can come work on my new shit. Fuck that dude. Da, 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 da. And I was like, you're not gonna say nothing to her about this? Do I need to say something? So then when I said something, he tried to step to me because she was the celebrity.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was garbage.
Oh, what
it's
a
garbage.
mess. What an absolute mess. How did you get into comedy?
I got into comedy because I'm a full-blown idiot. You know?
Where did you start?
I got all my degrees in acting. I went to the East Coast right after I left grad school. I went to the East Coast to audition for a bunch of theater internships.
Yeah.
Just trying to be like, I'm going to be a fucking New York Broadway grinder. I'm going to do musical theater. I'm going to be tap dancing, whatever they need me. I'm going to fucking get my shit together.
I didn't know that. I always thought it was comedy and then acting, but it was the opposite.
It was acting. I've been an actor my entire goddamn life.
Shit. I did not realize that.
And then one day I bombed an audition. I mean, because it was one of those auditions where you walk in the room, the director looks at you and just, you already know. Because it's they could just tell, you don't have the look we're looking for this character, which is fine.
You did that riff you did last night.
Yeah. It happens all the time. I'm so used to it. I was down, but it was just well, fuck it. I just don't have the look, whatever. So I was just walking down Melrose, coming from the audition. And I happened to get near the Improv, and I see Open Mic Tuesday. It was fucking Tuesday.
Wow.
So I go into the Improv, put my name in the bucket. I don't get pulled. But that night, I saw open micers Dean Del Rey,
Oh shit.
Gerard Carmichael, Chris D'Elia.
Wow, just a bunch of crushers.
But they were still at the open mic level. They hadn't broke yet, so they were still funny dudes.
Right.
But they were like, still, they was working it out, just making their friends laugh. It was a standard open mic. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Mm-hmm. But because I saw that they were making their friends laugh, I was like, oh, I can do. Of course, like an idiot, I can do that. I love comedy. I can go make people like laugh with inside jokes and shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know any of these people. Doesn't occur to me. About a month and a half into going every week, signing up, just getting to know people, getting to know comedy, I get my name pulled. I go up there. What I think is I'm gonna destroy these motherfuckers. I bombed so badly. For 3 minutes on the improv main stage in front of everybody.
Right.
One of my homies, who's one of my best friends in comedy to this day, still tells me, man, I thought you were going to kill yourself. Like the bomb was that bad. But I did it for 3 minutes. I did the material I wrote down.
Yeah.
And the host came up to me and was like, hey, man, just keep writing. That's it, because that's all it is. It's just keep writing. Like it's not like I didn't go up there and not try. I tried to be funny. I just wasn't, and I've been with it ever since.
As a young comedian myself, it's like it's impossible for me to picture you doing poorly. Like it's
man,
like
I can show you videos.
Oh really?
Somebody sent me a video when I was doing. I think I was 6 years in. Somebody sent me a video from my 6-year point. And when I was 6 years in, I thought I was killing. Because I was on the road a little bit. I had been doing some casino work.
Yeah.
I watched that video. I sucked.
Oh, wow.
I fucking sucked at 6. And I was like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's wild, man. It's. I mean, that is kind of I mean, that's the great part about comedy. Is there's no ceiling. Like, you can always get better.
You have to.
Yeah.
Because look at Louis C.K. is a perfect example. Louis C.K. was very funny in the time period before the social ideas of what is acceptable changed.
Yeah, right.
So now Louis still writing his same joke and using the word "your mother's cunt" as a punchline.
Right.
But now now people are like, well, that's not a good punchline. Like,
right.
You had a great setup there. We were really listening.
Yeah.
But now when your payoff is mom's cunt, people are like, oh well. We've heard though.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I never really thought about that. Like, I mean, your growth is almost demanded by the audience. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because you're only performing. You're only as funny as you are in this moment.
Right.
If you're on stage. So if I killed last week, I can't get on stage here in Fresno and be like, yo, I killed at the Improv last week. On Sunday.
Right.
I fucking murdered.
Here's my murder card. I'm so funny.
I'm certified murderer.
I'm
a certified murderer. So you guys, even if I bomb, know I'm very good. Like, you can't do that. So you need to know, hey, you can't talk about this type of subject matter. And if you do, it has to be funny now. It can't just be because you said buzzword blank. It has to be funny. And that's why comedy, acting, performing is one of those things that never stops. There is no, when you get this good, you no longer have to try.
Right.
You have to always try because even Chris Rock, Carlin, they'll go on stage and bomb, especially with new material. It's not like just because they wrote it's funny. You got to figure it out. So.
Right. Where did you grow up?
I grew up a little bit of everywhere. Mom and dad got divorced when I was like 2, I think. And I moved with my mom to Washington, and she was getting her education. So every couple of years, we would go to a different place where either she was working or going to school. So have a little root in a bunch of different areas. Really? But I claim Houston is home because that's where I lost my virginity. So that home is where the heart is. You know what I mean?
Cool. Yeah. So Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rad. And like, what was like? I mean, I guess initially, I know you said you've been acting your whole life, but what was the draw to that? Were you like a movie nerd, and you're like, I want to do that? Or
my mom was in theater when she was in school. That's what she got her undergrad degree in. So she encouraged my sister and I to perform as a way for children to express themselves, because she grew up in a very kind of structured, restricted.
Yeah.
My grandmother worked, my grandfather worked, so my mom's the oldest, so she was the mom of the house,
right?
Kind of like keep everything in order.
Right.
But for us as kids, she wanted us to be ourselves. So she encouraged us both to perform. My sister kind of went more toward and she became an engineer, so she was more toward the mathematics, science, technical side.
Sure.
I always stuck with performance.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what I did, even when I was playing sports in Texas, I still did theater. I still did speech and debate because that's what I do.
Right. You've been doing this your whole life.
Man.
Whole life entertaining people. What does your mom think of you in comedy?
It took her about 5-6 years to get it.
Really?
Because she thought it was just a hobby. Because I was working as a bar manager. I could have moved into the corporate side of working like stadium events. I had that opportunity, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't move to California to work at the Staples Center for the rest of my life.
Right.
So it got a little weird for a minute, like where I was going through that transition of, if I make this leap, I lose everything.
Right.
But it's a risk you got to take because that's the only reason I moved to LA.
Right. Because I mean, you're going through that whole like full blown personal existential crisis of like standing like straddling both. Yeah. Because I was talking to somebody about that recently too. It's like there's something to be said about like chasing the dream. Obviously, we use that phrase a lot, but like I also think there's a lot of us that are like running from a nightmare. Like we're running. Like that's
we're damaged people. I get it.
Yeah, right.
I get it.
I mean, because like that nightmare is just that like mundane existence. I mean, it's just that like I could go back to my sales job. I could go back to making a bunch of money. I could find a pretty girl who has a degree, and she makes a bunch of money, and we could get a house together, a nice house, and we could probably have how about a couple. I'd
have a couple of rugrats running around, a couple of chickens in the back,
a pretty wife, and a couple of kids, and we're living this like comfortable existence. But at the same time too, I was living that existence and just wanted to kill myself. Like I was. Just felt broken,
it was one of those. I had a conversation with one of my managers.
Yeah.
And I had just done a bit role in a Showtime, whatever Showtime's second channel was, like Showtime 2 or whatever, in a Showtime 2 movie, right? His wife saw me in the movie. So we've never had like a real conversation before. This dude randomly comes into my bar before we start work and just strikes up a conversation like, hey, my wife saw you in that thing. I was like, oh, yeah, that was kind of cool, blah, blah, blah. He tells me about all of his failed acting dreams.
Oh, no.
And he was the manager in the position of, like, that's the job I would have ended up in. Like, I'm literally looking at my future like, oh, fuck.
Jesus.
He was like, yeah, man, I did this role, and I used to hang out with the guy that was in Independence Day. Like, that one dude, you remember him? I was like, it was like a bit role in Independence Day. His friend had like 3 lines. He was like, yeah, I knew that dude, and I knew this other guy, and here I am now, and oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's wild. Yeah.
You can't do it, but if that's not your passion,
right? I mean, like I could go back to that, but I can almost guarantee I would probably kill myself at some point. Not right away, but like 25 years from now.
Yeah.
After
it's weird how, and like that's not even an uncomfortable thing to say because you can really, like, there was a time when it was, hey, you just got to be successful. Doesn't matter what you do,
right?
But you got to put food on the table,
right?
And you got to, and it's, well, what if I'm unhappy in success,
right?
Because that's not something. When Tony Scott killed him, or Ridley Scott's brother killed himself, he was rich. He was a fucking world-class director. He had top of the world,
right?
But he was suffering from I think it was like pancreatic cancer or something. And even though he had the access to the best medicine in the world, he was miserable. In happiness, because he wasn't like oh, he can't work. He had just directed Denzel Washington in a movie, like
right.
But he just wasn't happy.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
And it's one of those things where there's not, just because you're successful does not automatically mean happiness in something, in anything in life. And you can now look at it like we get the opportunity to go, I don't want to be in the professional world in that capacity. It wouldn't work for me.
Yeah. And you mentioned it, I think, a moment ago. Did you say you were on the East Coast doing acting?
Yeah, I went out after I graduated from grad school. I went out to the East Coast, Philadelphia, New York. Where else did I go? Went out. Well, Chicago's Midwest, but I went to like all the major cities for theater.
Yeah. What's that world like? I mean,
it's just as cutthroat as any other business, but everyone has a really huge ego.
Oh, sure.
Like if you work in IT, there could be the IT guy who's really good at his job, but maybe he's snarky just about the job.
Sure.
But in comedy or acting or performance in general, the ego is so much more. Like the guy who only has 4 minutes thinks he's as funny as Dave Chappelle.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
you don't get that from the guy who works. A guy who works at CVS isn't going to be like, yo, I can fucking Cedar Sinai. I can out-diagnose all those fuckers. Like, he's like, no, I do my job. I'm at CVS.
Yeah.
But you don't get that in comedy.
Yeah.
You don't get that in acting. It's like I can be Ryan Gosling.
Right.
I could do that. I could do that turn. Like,
Yeah, nobody in comedy's like, I'm good enough. Like, whereas the IT guy is just very happy and satisfied with where he is.
And also, performers, we look at other parts of the whole of performance and think just because we can do one, I can direct.
Dude, yeah.
I can write. It's like, no, you can write jokes, but can you write a script? Because that's not the same thing.
Sure.
You've never seen a movie that's all punchline jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have so much respect. I mean, I've just, in doing comedy, I've met way more actors than I ever knew before. And I after meeting actors and like having done just little bits of it myself here and there, it's so fucking hard. Like,
man.
Because
it's
being a character is one thing, but being yourself, like
being yourself as a character, it's you being a character, but it's you being the character in another person's characterization of that character. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can create all the character you want, and if you're like Robert Downey Jr., the director will be like, whatever you do is genius. Johnny Depp, you're genius.
Yeah.
But a lower level actor, you come up with the idea of what you want the character to be. You walk into the room and the producer goes, okay, I love what you did, but let's try it my way, which will now be on the spot. A totally different attitude, characterization, emphasis on the lines that you haven't practiced.
Right.
And you need to be able to deliver that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
You need to be able to embody whatever they're giving you. You need to be able to embody it within 1 minute, 30 seconds to a minute, and then perform it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the thing a lot of people don't understand about acting. It's not just going, I memorized the lines.
Right.
Because if you memorize the lines and you ever seen Arrested Development?
Yeah.
You remember when Tobias does the audition? It's like the very first season or like second episode. He does the audition for the fire sale, but he thought it was a fire. So the whole time he was in there like, oh my God, it's a fire. Whoa, save the children. But then it's like, wait, it's a fire. Oh, sale. It's like, oh shit, now, but can you deliver it as like a fire sale now? But he was so dedicated to, no, this is the tragedy of the fire. I don't know what else to do. That's the normal person trying to act. It's like, if you thought it was a fire, but it ends up being a fire sale, you can't be panicked. Like you got to be able to adjust.
Right.
But it's one of those things where, look from the outside looking in, it's just a funny joke. But when you analyze it from a performance aspect, it's like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, this is coming from a real place. I think that's the other thing. A lot of people, I know, I didn't really realize it again until I started meeting actors. But there's like a whole world of like blue collar actors. Like, I mean, they're not like megastars, but they're making a comfortable living. Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of blue collar dentists. There's a whole bunch of blue collar stock car drivers. Like there's a bunch of blue collar comics. There are people who literally just do rooms all over the country, casinos, and like theater shows. Yeah. You've never seen their face. Right. You probably never heard their name. And they're making $300-400K a year doing stand up. Yeah. And they're probably corporate gigs? Don't even get me started on the corporate shit. Yeah. Fucking somebody, I don't even know if it's true, but someone told me Dom Herrera got offered $30,000 to do 20 minutes at a corporate gig. Wow.
That's great. And I hear even at those stupid price tags, I hear they're not even fun shows. Like,
they're terrible.
Yeah, if my manager's paying $30,000 I would try to laugh. Like,
but see, the thing is it also depends on the show, because I think it was Burr said it on his podcast. He did a corporate gig where it was the big ballroom, and they had a stage set up on one side. Like, it was kind of like your bazaar setup. It had a stage set up on one side, but then there was refreshments over here. The tables for the seating area were all the way in the back corner across the bar. Oh, Jesus. And then there was a meet and greet table and like pictures in the front. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, but the way they were paying me, I just do the gig. Right. Like, you don't want to bomb, but at the same time, there's very little chance you'll do well. Right. And how high are the stakes at that point? If you like, you don't want to lose that gig. I guess so. Because the thing is if you go up there and you trash the place,
Sure.
Hey man, thanks for coming out. They're not gonna invite you back.
Right.
I just got paid $20K to do 20 minutes. Like, I want to do this gig again next year.
That's
I want
real.
you to recommend me to your other business friends. So you still got to be, again, that's the wheel of sharpening the fucking sword. Like, that's the grind. That's the grind, basically. It's the grinder where you're like, even when it sucks, you still got to be a pro because it's a business.
You got to be on. Yeah, that's real.
And if you're not sharp enough to handle that, well, it's so much easier to fall than it is to rise in this business.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest trade-off is it's so hard. Like, once you get to that point, you want to keep it, but you can do one dumb thing and lose a gig. You can, hey man, don't cuss. And then you let one slip because you got a little bit too drunk
Right.
Oh, nobody's paying attention and I'm going to let it fly because this guy likes when I cuss that one time.
Right.
Somebody's yelling, be dirtier. It's like, dude, I did a corporate gig and I did my masturbation joke. Now, I've done this joke. I've auditioned this joke for Disney Digital. It's completely clean. There's not a single curse word in it. But because I said I do the act out with the Louis C.K. thing, but I put my hand over here and I jiggle it. Because I jiggled my hand like this, I got a 5-page letter from that company's HR department telling me how inappropriate my conduct was. I don't think I'll ever work with them again.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was fucking easy. It was $500 for 30 minutes.
Oh God, that's great money.
You know what I'm saying? And it was in San Diego, so I could literally leave my house at 12, go to San Diego, kick it, do the gig, and they were saying they were going to be doing their retreats like every 6 months. So I could have had like if not, I wasn't going to do it every 6 months, but at least yearly. I knew, hey, I can go to San Diego, get $500.
Yeah, it's an easy gig.
I can just send an email and be like, hey, when's the next thing? You need some entertainment? I'll come on down. Here's $500.
One tiny little hand.
Give me cash for 30 minutes and let me dip out. Now, because I did a joke that I was too stupid to like really go through my mind and go, I can at least take the act out. Like but I have been doing the joke the same way so long, I let myself slip. And that's another learning.
I guess it's better to learn that on the $500 gig than the $20,000 gig. Yeah, so I mean, you make a great point.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I feel like we've gotten to know. I feel like the crowd, the audience knows who you are.
We've bored you enough. I'm going to leave now.
Good night. This is you're Quincy Johnson II.
That's me.
And this is Sad Dad. This is a podcast where we talk about our dads. And you mentioned it briefly. But you have a dad.
Yeah. I'm named after him.
You're the second.
That's me.
Because I never really thought about that. I just. Of course, there's a one. If there's a two.
What type of narcissist would I be if I just named myself the second? I get to Hollywood and I'm like, no, Quincy Johnson II. Respect it. You know?
It's an 11. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. So, where'd your dad grow up?
He grew up, I believe, it was either Vicksburg or Greensboro, Mississippi. It was one of those Mississippi towns.
I got you.
Little dusty town.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
What? Do you have any idea what he's like as a kid? Is he like a big family or is he?
Big family. It was small town, so everybody knew everybody. Like everybody went to the same church. It was like that big. We going to your house to cook out. Big community. He's just a community style dude. He knows that. He's one of those guys. He knows everybody's name. Gives everybody a hug. Every old woman a kiss on the cheek. Handshakes for the gentleman. Says hello to the kids. Like he's just that. That's like he's the prototypical neighborhood dude. You know what I mean? Like that's how he grew up. So.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And so is he? And growing up, is he into sports or you have any sense of what he's like?
He had a black belt in karate. He was big. Yeah, he was big into martial arts as a kid when he was growing up.
And this is like before martial arts are cool, right?
Well, no, this was like right around the time Bruce Lee, he got into it a couple of years before Bruce Lee broke. Yeah. So it was one of those, if you knew about the martial arts, you were deep into it. Like he was dedicated his whole life to it. But the average person was just like, oh yeah, you can just pick up nunchucks and swing them, and you won't give yourself a concussion because it's nunchucks. It's easy.
Look at that. Look at me. I'm a ninja. Look at me, guys. Yeah. I'm like a ninja over here. That's wild. That's pretty cool. Yeah. What do you know? What the draw was for him to martial arts? I mean,
wanted to kick ass.
Yeah.
He grew up as a young black kid in the South, being tormented by. It was like you can't. His explanation to me as a kid was, if I was ever caught with a gun, they'd have killed me in Mississippi.
Wow. Yeah.
If I get pulled over and I have a gun on my person, Yeah, but if I know how to defend myself with 2 batons and there's just 2 sticks in my back seat or something, it's just like, what are these for? Are we playing stickball?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's I mean, the logic makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things that as a white person, like it wouldn't
even occur to you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so shitty. Like, but
No, I mean it's just different life experiences. It's
Right.
It's one of those things where even for me, I grew up in different areas around the country as a kid, so I got exposed to so much compared to when I moved to Texas and would start talking to these other kids who only grew up in Galveston or only grew up in College Station.
Right.
They didn't know shit about the world, but they thought they knew everything, and it was well. That's just how I've diagnosed people growing up. It's like, can I have a conversation with you on the basis of we'll figure it out as we go along, or are you already coming with this superiority complex of I know everything?
Right.
So you can't I don't like talking to people like that because if I have a different. One of my favorite things is if we disagree, we don't have to end up agreeing.
Right.
You don't have to like Star Wars at the end of this conversation. I can tell you about Star Wars if you're interested in listening.
Sure.
But if you're coming into the conversation going, oh, it's fucking stupid, I don't care.
Right.
Then why are we even having this conversation?
Sure. I mean, it's there's already a preconceived notion. Nobody's moving anything, the needle on anything. So he's grown up Mississippi. He's doing martial arts. What's he graduates high school? Does he go on to?
He went on to college. He went to Loyola in Chicago, and then went to dental school there.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Does he talk about that change from Mississippi to Chicago? I mean, was that?
Well, he actually made that change as a kid. He grew up in Mississippi as a kid, and I think he went to high school in Illinois when my grandmother divorced her husband. Yeah, grew up in Mississippi, moved with my grandmother to Illinois. She started teaching, and then he went to like school there, college there, and then
cool. And then he went into dentistry.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, did he ever explain that, or did he have a?
I have. We never really talked about his passion for dentistry. He loves teeth. He's one of those guys. Like when I used to watch him work, he just loves people, and if you're a doctor. You're like, especially with surgeons, and you're dealing with like super sick people in a lot of pain.
Right.
And it's hard to be bubbly when you're like, oh, I got to be focused on if I'm doing surgery or whatever he was going to like focus on.
Sure.
So I think his second year dealing with the cadavers, he was like, I'd rather deal with live people.
Sure. Because I'm sure it's very rare that dentistry is a life and death situation. So,
and like he always like he's one of those people. He talks all through, like whenever he's doing fillings or if as long as you're awake, he'll just talk you all the way through the process, and it's a lot easier to do that in dentistry than it is in medicine.
Right, because the person's like
just comatose.
Comatose. That's funny. Just talking to his spleen like. That's wild. Yeah. So he sounds like what was your relationship like with him growing up? I mean,
well, when my mom and dad divorced, I mean, we had contact, but we didn't live in the age of technology, and we were on a different time zone, different schedule. We were 2 hours or an hour ahead. Yeah, we were an hour ahead of him. So when we got out of school, if we got out at 5, it was 4. Oh shit, sorry. If we got out at 5, it was 4 for him. So he's still at work. Then by the time I'm done with like basketball practice or theater, late night, whatever, he's just getting off work.
Sure.
But you got to catch us before we go to bed because we got a bedtime because we got to be in school because it's the 80s. We got to be in school fucking 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Mom's got to work her job. Like it was a weird, like we scheduled at least one time to talk per week just to say, hey, on Sunday, I'm going to call you at this time.
Yeah.
Let's talk for a couple minutes, check in, see how you're doing, keep it pushing.
Yeah.
Because it's like he knew he couldn't be a disciplinarian because it was through a phone. We didn't even have Skype or video chat back then. So I can't look you in the eyes and tell you you're doing wrong.
Right.
Hey, man, don't be an asshole in school. Get your grades up. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the best you can do. And then my dad was 6'6" and a black belt. So he was like, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to fuck you up when I see you.
Wow, he's 6'6"?
Yeah.
Dude, that's a big dude to be throwing kicks, man.
He used to do psychological warfare on me and my sister, bro. Because, like, we're kids and my dad's a fucking 6'6" giant.
Yeah.
He had this huge, thick leather belt.
Oh,
right?
Man.
And he was like, look, I'm never going to put my hands on you. I promise. Because this was what he would tell me. He was like I could kill you if I wanted to. Like real talk. I have a black belt in karate. I could kill you if I wanted to.
Right.
But as your father, I promise you, I will never put my hands on you. But he had this huge, thick belt he would hang right by the front door and say, hey, I'm not going to put my hands on you, but if you fuck up, I'm going to have to talk. You're going to have to talk to him tonight. And we just point to the belt every time we walked out the house.
Yeah.
We didn't want to see that belt.
So
we were fucking, hey, man, I'm not going to be good, but I'm not going to get in trouble. There will never be a time you can say I got in trouble. I may I may fall asleep in class. I may, you know what I'm saying, steal a cupcake from the lunchroom.
Right.
But you're not going to catch me. Ain't nobody going to find out. You can accuse me, man. I don't know what happened. Somebody gave me a free cupcake. I just ate the cupcake, fam.
You got cupcakes on the brain right now. You just ate a cupcake. And so were you doing like summers there? Is that like, I mean, how did you guys
we tried our best to do summers. It was just schedule.
Sure.
Cuz we're not rich. You know what I mean? Like Pops was a dentist, but he wasn't the superstar own my own business dentist. He was working for another guy's business, making what he could to survive, and also supporting his mother who had retired and was older at the same time. So I never looked to him and was like, why don't I have a car? Why don't I have this? We have what we have. Like, I'd rather be, I learned at a very young age growing up in a 1-bedroom house with 4 people. Yeah. With constant family members staying over when they just crashed. It was like, yo, man, we got one. And when I say 1-bedroom house, it's not like a spacious area. The house I grew up in is literally the size of this living room and kitchen combined. Oh, wow. So like we had like, if you just cut this tiny little kitchenette off, we had an individual stove hooked up. I remember this place like the back of my hand because it was literally this big. Our kitchen was a table. The refrigerator was if the table's here, the refrigerator's right here. We had an individual stove with nothing next to it in this corner, and a tiny little modified sink that was put into the wall because the bathroom was on the other side, so they could share the pipe. Oh, wild. Yeah. The bathroom was just like a water closet. It had a toilet, and then it had like a small tub, and we couldn't get a stand-up shower, so we just all had to take baths in this tiny little tub, little tiny sink. You could literally, I could take a shit and put my feet in the tub. Wow. Because they were so close to each as a kid. Right. So like everything was like super close together. Me and my sister had bunk beds in the bedroom. My mom and dad slept on a pull-out couch in the living room. And we were just like, that's the best we got. We happy, man. I'm not even gonna trip.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like through all of it, like you guys, you made the most of it, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as long as that's the thing. You don't need money to have fun. Right. Like my mom and dad, because they worked so much, my favorite thing was they would just let us go outside and play. Yeah. Hey, man, we got you a bike. Go outside. Yeah. If the cops come talk to you, say yes, sir, and no, sir. That's all you got to worry about.
Sure. Yeah, and did your mom remarry?
She did remarry, but that wasn't until after I graduated college. Oh, okay. Yeah, so she was dating dudes. You know what I'm saying? She was a mom. She was living her life. She was a single lady, but she never found somebody she wanted to marry.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I mean, because there's so much of like everything you just talked about. There's so much that like I think certain people would kind of like hang their hat on as an excuse to be a real asshole. Mm-hmm. But not you. No, like, man. Yeah.
Like, I don't... look, if I needed to be an asshole because I was broke, man, we would not be having this conversation.
Yeah, right.
I'm in Hollywood and L.A. trying to make it now, and I've been broke. Sure. I'm broke now. Like,
do you feel like that attitude came from, like, your mom or from your dad?
It just came from the family in general because we always supported each other. So I could always, like... If we didn't have any food at the house, we could go to my grandmother's house, and then we could just bring a dish, add that to the family, and then we gonna potluck together, and everybody gonna eat tonight. So, like we always had each other to lean on. And what do you need? Like there's so much. What did people do before electronics to have fun? You've had fun. You went to the park. You played sports. You rode a bicycle. You went to do whatever. Like there's so many options where I didn't need a Nintendo to have fun. Yeah. I don't need this cell phone to be on all the time to have fun. I need it for connection to the world. But if we have a deck of cards, I can go 6 hours straight with my real friends. We can play board games and like spades, dominoes, bid whiz, whatever for hours at a time. never needed $1 to do. You just need a pack of cards. You can steal those.
Right. Yeah.
59 cents, but I ain't got $1. So I'm gonna walk in. I'm gonna put him in my back pocket. I'm gonna walk out. Don't make eye contact with nobody. Don't get caught. You got a pack of cards.
Yeah.
Let's go play cards.
And also too, you are a dad. Mm-hmm. You have a son.
Yeah.
And it's, I think you're you're only the fourth dad I've ever had on the Dad podcast.
Nice.
Yeah. And so, I mean, again, it's such a big question, and I hate asking it. But like, tell me about being a dad. I mean, what are your thoughts on fatherhood?
It's a weird dichotomy of trying to be responsible and also understanding that because he's not in my household, so I can't be disciplined like just with my pops.
Sure.
We didn't end up in a situation where I was with him every day growing up.
Right.
So when we are together, you just gotta be respectful of who I am as a person. Like, not even as an authoritarian. I'm not here trying to tell you how to run your life. Mm-hmm. Me and him, we have like, he's old enough now where we have like real conversations where it's just like, hey man, how your friends doing? Are you liking any girls? You got a crush on anybody?
Right.
You know, like, just how are the grades? That's it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm not going to call you up and be like, well, your mama told me you did blank, blank, blank.
Sure.
We don't talk like that. Like, me and his mom don't talk like that, so I don't need to talk to him like that.
Right.
I just want to, as long as he knows I'm a stable member in his life, that if he ever needs, hopefully I'll get successful enough to where I can fully support him the way I want to. But at this point in my career, I can't do that.
Sure.
So, I've dealt with the reality of it. He's still growing into it, and those are the only two opinions that matter.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's a lot of negativity on his mom's side of the family towards me. I can't do nothing about that.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're the only person he needs to, you're going to be, he's the only person that you're accountable to, you know? And so, and it sounds like you guys have that understanding.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And even if he doesn't have that, I can definitely explain that to him, because if he needs something from me, I don't have to go through 17 hoops. Like,
right.
It's one of those things where, fortunately enough, we have enough technology where, dude, if you ever need to talk to me, I tell him, if you ever need to talk to me, call me. If I call you and you don't want to talk, I'm not offended.
Yeah.
You're growing into your adolescence. You want to masturbate a lot now. You know what I'm saying? You're young.
Fine. No shame in that game, man.
No, we have to talk about that, because like, sure. I'm not going to sit here and let him be a weird dude. Like, I'm going to say, hey, man, what's going on? You watching porn? Like, let's talk about it. If you want to be embarrassed, too bad. We're guys.
And there's something to that, because I remember, how old is he?
He is 13.
13. I remember getting, my parents were really religious, and I remember getting a bad sex talk from a youth pastor. It was just one of those, shameful, you're all filthy. Don't jerk off. It makes God cry, and it really fucks with you, your sexuality and everything at that age, and to have somebody. And my parents never gave me any kind of a real talk it sounds like you're giving to your son, and so it sounds almost silly to say oh no, we talk about masturbation, we talk about porn, but it does more than people realize, you know. Yeah. I mean, just not being ashamed of your.
Yeah, because the first time I asked him about it, anything, he was he got kind of clammed up and embarrassed. I was like, no, man, we can talk about that. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. I do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We're people.
Right.
But it's one of those things where everybody's he's in the South, so everything is kind of like pins and needles. Right. Sex is for God until you turn 18, and then good luck out there. Right. And I would rather him know the information, and know that he can come to me and talk about any of it, because it's one of those things where I see him growing up and I go, I can't give you the blueprint. I can't give you all the answers immediately, because you still have to live life.
Right.
But if at any point in time anything happens, believe me, I've most likely either gone through it or I know I know enough about it to help you out.
Sure.
Especially in teenage years, that was I grew up once my mom settled in Texas, and I was especially in high school. I was living with my mom, my grandmother, my sister, and my two cousins. We were all in one house together. It was super, super deep, super piled in.
Yeah.
But I never I was so used to being out, I was never home. I was just always out trying to have fun with my friends, being in sports, being in theater. So I did a lot of my high school experience solo with nobody, because, again, my pops was on a different time zone. We didn't really, talk like that. Like we do now because we're adults and he's much more comfortable. But he didn't know how to talk to me like that as a kid.
Yeah. I mean, and that's hard to figure out even when you're in the house every single day. You know, I mean, I know so many people that grew up. I mean, just last week's, or I guess it's going to be this week's episode. But yeah, the comic I had on, she's like, I grew up with my dad. I still don't know how to talk to, you know, like
that's so weird to me. Like me and my mom, people think me and my mom's relationship is weird because we talk about everything. Even when I was a kid, she would, because she loved debate, like she's a debater, and she would let me have my stance, and if I could prove my point, I was allowed to prove it. It wasn't just a shut up because I said so.
Right.
But that's how my grandmother raised her.
Yeah.
So people would look at our relationship and go, Quincy's crazy. Like he's talking to his mama, talking back, and it's like, no, we're having a healthy discussion.
Right.
Because if I feel I have a valid point, at least let me tell you why so you can prove to me that I'm wrong. You can't just say, oh, your point's valid, but I don't give a shit. That's not good parenting.
Right.
And when you can tell me, if you tell me I'm wrong, you have to prove it to me. That's the type of individual I've always been.
Right.
You can't just go, hey, that doesn't gonna work. And that's another reason why, just to take it back to the corporate world, could not work in the corporate world. Because there are times when, like, my managers would come to me and tell me to do something, and I would look at them and be like, no, that's really stupid. We should actually if we're going to sell this, we should display it this way, or we should have this, or hey, let's try it. Well, no, that's not how we're going to do it.
Right.
But that doesn't, why?
Yeah. I mean,
because that's not how we're doing it today.
Right. And they don't have a good excuse other than it's like, this,
I can't do this. I can't do this.
It's just the rules. That's how we do it. Does your son think you're cool?
No, not at all. No.
Which is ironic because you're one of the coolest people I know.
He thinks what I do is cool when I do it. Because I'm a dad. Like I'm to him, I'm just dad. I'm just, hey, you cracked the joke, you sent the gif, dad. Like
right.
But when I went to go see him last time, I somehow the universe aligned. While I was picking him up because he lives outside of Houston, I got a text on Twitter about someone needing an opener at a club in Houston.
Oh, shit.
So literally through Twitter, arranged just to do a guest spot at the Secret Group. Shouts out to the Secret Group down there. To do a Secret Group show in their main room, sold out show. Oh. So his mom hates me for doing this. She thinks I'm a terrible dad. But I got to take, redacted, my child into a club. He got to sit in the VIP room, he was the only person on the VIP booth with me before I went on stage. He got to see me go up there and rock it.
Dude,
and then we just dipped out. You know what I mean? And it was like...
That is everything I want as a parent myself. I just want my daughter to watch me crush one time. Yeah. That's it. Sorry about all the swears, honey.
The first time he came, it was sometimes the universe works. The very first time my son came to visit me in LA, that night I had a show at the new Ontario Improv. Not Ontario, I'm sorry, Oxnard. Levity Oxnard. A sold out show at Levity. He came in that day and went with me to Levity and saw me work. Yes. And that was when he was like, oh, you do this. Because up until that point he'd only seen me on like YouTube. Sure. And then you see like me posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook, but again, I'm broke. Right. I'm not a household name. So when you look at it from that lens, it's like he's just I'm out there going through the motions, being a terrible, like not working hard. Right. But then it's like, come see what I actually do. Sure. Yeah, because you saw the YouTube clip and it was 3 minutes and you got some likes, but come watch Daddy work for 25 minutes in front of fucking damn near 1,300 people. You know what I'm saying? Or 800 people, however many people fit in that place.
I kind of messed up earlier. I gave you the kind of the outline of the show and how we do it. One thing I always like to like close the show out on like a dad related anecdote. I call them dadicdotes. And I should have mentioned it earlier. I mean, do you have any like wild or fun or favorite stories about either your dad or being a dad?
Oh yeah, my dad, he loves telling this story. One of my favorite moments with my dad is when he knew I was becoming a man. Because not even so much a man. He knew I was a good bullshitter. Let's put it like that. He was driving his car, and we were trying to get to a restaurant on the other side of town. I had been to the restaurant before, so I was like, yo, Pops, I've been there before. I can give you directions. He was like, okay, you gonna give me directions? Like, just being a dad. Like, oh, you gonna give me directions? Okay, son, give me directions. Yeah. So I give him directions, get him totally lost. Just totally lost. He's having a great time because he's like, you were telling me all this bullshit. You're a man now. Here you go. We get to a stoplight, and he looks at me and says, "So where do we go from here? Because I have you. It seems like you don't know where you're going, son. Like trying to give me the out."
Yeah.
And I just looked at him and said, "Yo, Pops, I know where I'm going. I just don't know where you're going right now." Like in my head, this is all making sense. Like you're not following directions the way I want you to. I told you to turn right at the thing, and I don't know when you turned right, but it wasn't at the thing. So come on, Pops, what are we gonna do?
That's great, man. That's a fun story.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, like, that's when we kind of connected on a level of it's just like, yeah, like you don't have to, I don't have to be right all the time, and he was willing to let me make mistakes, and that was like one of the greatest lessons he gave me.
I mean, that's a big thing. Yeah. Just letting your kids fail.
Yeah, just okay. You really want to. It was like you really want to go to this place, huh? And you're gonna tell me how to get there? Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's go.
I love it.
And then once you fail miserably, either you get to admit it. I'm not gonna like beat you. I'm not gonna yell at you. I'm gonna just be like, hey man, it was in your hands. So what are you gonna do with it?
Just reflect on it. Oh man, Quincy, you've been such a great guest today.
Thanks for having me, man. It was great.
If people want more Quincy Johnson II in their life, where can they find you on social media?
On all social media at Quincy Johnson II, QUINCY JOHNSONII, all one word. It's the only thing I can remember on the line.
Sure, that's perfect. I'll link your handle in the show notes. So dude, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And we're back. Quincy Johnson, everybody. He's great. Follow him on all the social medias. We're going to have him back up again real soon. If you missed him, he headlined our Wednesday show last week. And he's one of our I mentioned it on the episode, but he's definitely one of our guys that always comes through in a pinch. And he's so funny and so talented and so reliable. That is definitely something in the comedy business that doesn't get appreciated enough. Is just showing up and being there, man, and he always comes through for us. So thank you so much for being on today, Quincy. If you guys enjoyed the show, rate and review on iTunes. I heard recently that Apple is doing away with iTunes. They're just going to go to a full streaming service. I don't know how it's going to work with podcasts. I mean, I guess people already stream everything anyway. But anyway, so rate and review on iTunes. And again, I'm on all the platforms now. You have no excuse. Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud. It's all out there. So cool, guys. Just a couple of things I think I want to shamelessly plug. For my friends, there have been some previous Sad Dad guests that have been doing some big things, and if you enjoyed them, if you enjoy the show, if we can take an opportunity to support them. But Kyle Clark just dropped a new comedy album a while back. I believe it's called Absolute Terror, and he released that on. He went and started a comedy record label called Radland Records, which is really cool. I mean, that's so ambitious and so cool of him, and he's given a lot of comedians an opportunity, and giving them real funny people that otherwise may be looked over. Keith Carey, who actually isn't one of those people. Everybody's kind of paying attention to Keith Carey right now. But Keith Carey just released an album called Partylicious. That's available for you. Another previous Sad Dad guest. So if you can support those guys if you get a chance, they're very funny people and previous Sad Dad guests. So cool, guys. That has been it. If you want to help me out with some of the hosting fees to get this thing posted each week, you can support the Sad Dad Patreon. If you need to get a hold of me for any reason, you can email me at saddadpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow me at Dave Apkarian on all the social medias, and that is it, you maniacs. I'll be back next week. I've got a guest locked in. Well, tentatively locked in. I'm hesitant to like commit to any names right now, but I have a few things in the pipeline that I'm going to release for you guys, and I'll definitely be back come hell or high water next week. So that's it. Here we go, guys. Adios.